Hello and welcome to our Hude Hour special on the issue of the 16 days activism against gender-based violence and abuse. Today we'll be delving into the matter as the campaign began on the 25th of November and is rounding off today, the 10th of December, which also coincides as it does annually with the International Human Rights Day. Welcome, I am Amadine Obere.
And I am Jill Eze. You're welcome to Hude Hour Special.
All right, today we have a guest in the house to do justice to the matter. She is the founder of Beyond the Classroom Foundation, Raquel Kashan Daniel. She joins us to do justice to this issue and to round off the campaign with the advocacy continuing even beyond. Welcome to the program.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So let's delve straight into it. I believe a lot of people dwell on the problem. So let's start almost from the solution aspect. A report cited by UN Women states that less than 40% of women who are victims or attacked or victims of violence end up reporting to the authorities. And that's already an issue that needs remedy. How do you think that can be fixed?
Okay, I think that to fix it, we need to understand what the challenge is. So why don't they report? And when I go on TV already, I always ask a question: if God forbid someone in your family is abused, would the first thing that you do be to expose the person and report the person? No, and I ask why. And most people say, oh, because of shame. And so the culture of shame and stigma, it needs to be addressed first. And then we can begin to find solutions to how we can get women and girls and even boys, anyone that is abused, report this issue. And so we don't have enough hotlines that people can call or anonymously complain that they've been abused or anything like that. Or even shelters where someone who has been abused can run to and stay for a couple of weeks, or just stay away from a partner or a parent that is abusing them. If you don't have anywhere to go to, and you're stuck in a marriage or in a relationship or in a family where you're being abused, you don't have a choice. So are you able to report it? And then also the fear of it happening and becoming worse is also another matter. We've seen people who report a matter, or I've been abused by my father, and then no one believes them. And when they go back home because they have nowhere else to go, and then it becomes worse. And we've seen a case of the father who, like I mentioned, was abusing his daughter sexually. And when they get reported to the mom says, oh, you can't talk about it because it's very shameful. And she went to speak to dad about it. And the dad made the mom to watch while he harassed the girl and said, two of you should do what you want to do about it. So it became worse. And the girl was like, maybe if I didn't tell you, this wouldn't be as worse as it is right now. So that culture of shame, the fact that we don't have anywhere to go to, victims don't know who to report to. And when they report, you go to a police station, for instance, and then they first will tell you, oh, you're a slut in local term, like you're a prostitute or a shell or stuff like that. Or are you sure you're not the one that, made the person to make the pass at you? And so girls don't want to be involved in that. I know a case recently of a girl who went to a police station on a different matter and was raped in a police station. So you can see all these, and the reason why we heard about her case is because her brothers took it up, and so culture of shame needs to be addressed, and we need to have shelters for women. That one is, I can't even overemphasize that. Shelters. The government needs to build places where people who are abused can go to, and then educate, the people, because even if you have these hotlines, you have these shelters, there's then the culture of shame, and you don't educate the people. It's difficult for us to reduce that number and have more people report cases.
All right, fair enough. Part of the running team for the campaign over the years has been using, or the word investment has been there. So let's talk about the funding. How can these funds be used innovatively to achieve success in the ending of violence against women and girls?
So I think it's first to look at where do you have the most people. Sometimes we create, in the nonprofit space, we create solutions, and we're not looking at where we have the most people, where we have the most reach. In designing our current project, for instance, we're looking at where we have the most reach. People listen to radio. People listen to skits. Parents, you see parents transferring all these kids or forwarding these kids from phone to phones, right? And so we realize that these things are where we can reach more people. So if radio is a way to reach more, especially in the rural community where these things are perpetuated more, then you pay more attention to grassroots advocacy and radio and education in the classroom, more in the classroom. And that's because the children and young people spend a lot of time in their schools. So if you have in the curriculum discussion around gender-based violence and abuse, and I say that gender-based violence is not just to women, it's gender-based. So both men and women are abused. So it means that If you're targeted on based on your gender, it's gender-based violence. So if boys and girls, men and women are educated in their schools about this matter, it's going a long way. So the funding should go into education, different means of education, not just like we're having conversations, but beyond that, we should have conversations to discuss how to put the funding, and beyond things that don't work anymore. So people do a lot of flyers, a lot of walks. That when I see people doing walks, I say, "What are you working against?" "Oh, we're working against violence." "So what else are you doing?" "You're just walking." "So what are you doing? Are you talking to people?" "Oh, well, we're just working." They see us in group, the media is following you, and that's all. We need to go beyond that. Even when you need to work, you can't work in the city. Go to the communities and get the women to come out, and get the religious leaders to come out and work with you. So we do a lot of things and put a lot of money and funding into places where we're not yielding results. So if we take a step backwards to say, where are we getting the most results? Rural community. Where are we getting the most people who would hear us and take action in rural communities? And so I think that is all schools. I think that's how we begin to appropriate our funding to reach the right people.
All right. When you spoke about the walks, it just reminded me of how women movement can be quite powerful at times if it's all encompassing. Yeah. So let's move to, or just to follow up on that, we've talked about funding. Before I move on to the next issue, the issue on funding, who would you say should be responsible for this? Because the key campaign is unite, so the call is for everyone to come together. So if you could, help us out with this, because when you say funding, you might think government and the budgets. Is that where it ends?
So yes, I know you're going to say that because, of course, the government is the biggest spender and they have the most reach. I will say that the government can reach more people than anybody can reach anybody. And no non-profit can reach more people as much as the government of a country can reach its people. And so they have the biggest money and they have the biggest budget. So even though you're complaining there's no money, there's money somewhere. Money goes with other things, corruption. Let's not go into that detail. So that means there's money. Even the money that is spent to the politicians is enough to divert into education and other things. So leaving that aside, I would say yes, the government. We have the humanitarian organizations, international organizations that give this funding, but they cannot give as much money as the government will give because the government has a lot of money. So the government should give, and international organizations should give more money to educating people on different matters, not just the gender-based violence and abuse. So to answer that question directly, I'll say that yes, the government should be the biggest spender because they reach more people and they have more money.
All right, so that's fair, but I think us as individuals, we can also do our to support organizations.
Yes.
So that aside, let's talk about moving. Before the program started, you mentioned that you can't separate the girl child from the woman.
Yes.
So let's move to that aspect. What's the best strategy to ensure protection of girls from issues of harmful practices like female genital mutilation, honor killings, and even bullying, which UN Women says that psychological bullying, to be specific, that the girl child is more predominantly affected by. How do you think this can be remedied?
So it goes back to culture. I'm not saying that our culture is bad. There are good parts of our culture, but there's some culture that we need to address that are actually harmful. Cultural practices like what you mentioned, the female genital mutilation. We have a case of a girl in Lagos that I was talking on radio the other day that real life story, she was caught, what they call it, but then the girl became promiscuous. So it was a case of we're trying to avert a girl being promiscuous, and then you triggered whatever it is in her own biological body, and then she couldn't be controlled anymore. And so we started to look at it. So could this be that there's actually an adverse effect to some people? So you're trying to say, cut the girl so that she's not promiscuous, and you're turning a bunch of them, maybe this is just one person that we know, into more promiscuous women. Should that be addressed? Should we look at it from that part? So some part of our culture should be looked at to say, is it positive? Or is it negative, and how can we stop it? And the best way to do it is also to educate people about it. And we do a lot of awareness campaigns, and awareness people just know about a matter. But when you educate people, they learn more and they go deeper into the matter and they understand it. So if I come here and you tell me, something about maybe tax reforms, I can just talk to you about it because I have an awareness of what it is, because I heard it on radio or TV. But you have to bring someone who is really a tax person to really dig down into it. But if you tell me I'm going to talk on TV today and I go and study the matter and educate myself, I'll be able to speak about the matter. And that's what it's lacking. A lot of us have an awareness of the matter, but we're not educated on the matter. So to answer the question directly, like I said, is to educate people on harmful practices that we have, cultural practices, and also to understand that when you said girls are more affected, to understand that yes, they are more affected. See a case of a girl who is born into a family where she has all sisters and no brother. Real life story. And then you hear things like, oh, you people are not children until your mother has a new child. You people, you're not important. And that girl goes up thinking that she's not important. And for the rest of her life, her self-esteem, even she and her sisters, or some of them, they could turn out better to want to be like a boy and be like better than 10 sons, like we say. But some of them, it dampens their self-esteem. And then they go down a path where they're either abused in their relationship from secondary school, and then they get to university, they're the ones living with men on campus, taking care of their colleagues, their students on campus, they're in a relationship with, because that's what they understand, that they're told that they're not good enough. So girls suffer a lot, much more than, I'm not saying boys are not suffering, because then you talk about the psychological effects of it, a lot of boys, because they're not taught to talk about the issues. And so they're taught to man up. So they keep the issues in. And so when we go to school, we don't say, oh, only the girls should come in. We want the girls and the boys to come in. And most schools, when we have girls and boys in a room, we have better conversations. Because then the girls will be saying, oh, you too? Because they don't believe that the boys will say the things that they say in the classroom. A simple example is putting girls and boys in a room when we talk about menstrual hygiene and menstrual health. And the girls are surprised that the boys have no clue what we're talking about. And then by the time we're done, and the boys are like, oh, really? Was that why XYZ happened to you? And the boys are not educated on the matter. And so now we're now putting them on, on a similar level to say, I understand when next a girl is staying in class, not to laugh. But instead of shielding the boys from the conversation of menstruation, we're opening it up so that boys and girls understand it. And the same thing with violence. If you shield them, the more you shield the boys and the men, the more the girls are affected, because they are supposed to be allies with the girls.
Okay, I am so happy about this angle you've actually entered. Speaking of shielding, this moves to my next question. Talking about technology, how women and girls are being violated in a technology way, where people, for instance, there are cases where men invite ladies, through social media, okay, come and meet us at so place and all that. They are being lured. That's the key word. And at the end of the day, some of them get killed. So this brings me to the recent bill that was passed in Australia, that persons under the age of 16 should be banned from using social media. What do you think? I want you to tell us. Do you think this is a right decision to make, or are there more good alternatives to curb out the violence against women and girls?
We can start with the first angle of the question, is to say that cyberbullying is there beyond even luring people out of social media to now hurt them. People are as bullied online. A lady posts a picture of herself, and the next thing you're saying, look at your cleavage. Are you sure you're not already you don't have 6 children? And she's been harassed. And we've seen people that have been bullied online so badly they took their lives. So we have that part. Then the part where you're talking about, that should be addressed, I wanted to say. It should be addressed where there should be sanctions for people who bully people online. You don't have rights just because you have a phone or you have a computer, then you make yourself powerful. You can type anything you want to type. So I sometimes when I used to have this campaign to say, before you post it, think, before you share it, think, I would encourage students to mind what they're posting and sharing. Think about it in 10 years. If someone reads this tweet, will you be proud of this tweet, or will you be proud of this Facebook post? And these are campaigns we had even as students in University of Lagos way back, when we need to bring back to curb cyberbullying, for people. And in the case of luring people off online, we have more adults, even women, that have low self-esteem, that are trying to get married because of the biological clock thing. So they are on dating sites that is unguarded, that is unsafe, and they are lured and killed more than even younger people. Because most of these young people are talking about, they don't have access to phones. It's just a few of them that have access to phones that this happens to. A lot more people, by research, shows that more women between 25 and 30 who have been psychologically at home, abused by their parents, by saying, oh, you are getting old, go and get a husband, and have turned into these social media dating sites, have been killed than even younger ones. Not to say that the younger ones are not important, which is where I'm going to your final question about Australia. I'm trying to make sure that every of your comments is addressed. To say that we should watch that. That's also a problem that we have, a cultural problem. Your daughter is 25, so what? She's 30, so what? She's 35, hell, so what? She should be allowed to, if you don't want her in your home, let her rent apartments. And then that's another problem. You rent an apartment, you say, why are you living outside of your parents' home? All these cultural practices. You want to buy a car. Why are you buying a car? You're not married. So many things, you hear that makes women not to be able to, come out and feel their full potential. And then the issue around, people, children using social media. I think this thing has to be curbed. And you see that where a lot of time is because people who are influential or have some sort of influence on social media open accounts for their children. And I know someone that told me, oh, but so person mentioned an influencer has an account for her child. I said, but it's managed by the mother. He said, yeah. Are you sure? Like, so that means that that person doesn't even know that it's being managed, and just assume that if that person has an account, I should have an account on social media. So that also should be addressed in some way. I'm not saying we should stop parents from opening accounts for their children. You will find my children on social media, I'm sorry. Anywhere. Most people don't even know how they look like, you know. But I'm saying that if you want to put them online, put them on your own page. But creating an account for them and creating a lifestyle for them is making some people think that it is okay for me as a young person to have. And then yours is guarded, theirs might not be guarded. So I'm not saying that your action is, is the reason why they are doing that, but you're an influencer for a reason. Your actions is influencing. So should we have laws that, kind of solve this issue? We should. Australia is taking a great step. So how can we do it? People should upload IDs, and maybe put their faces there or something that helps them verify before an account is opened. And if you see an account run by someone that is a minor, report it. Sometimes we just say, oh, that's not my business. We need to go back to a place where it takes a village to raise a child, where I can say, I see this thing and I'm doing something and it's wrong about it. But we've got to a place where everyone is shielded in their houses with their walls, stay in your flat, I stay in my flat, nobody's doing anything. So you see something if you're not reporting it. So if we all know that we're supposed to report it, if I see a minor on social media, I would be able to just click a button and report that the person is a minor. And the account is suspended, and it's asked to submit an ID to prove that they're not minors. You're not a minor before it's then approved or something like that. If people are doing that, taking responsibility, it will curb it a lot. And so all this social violence, social bullying, online bullying will reduce drastically.
All right, fair enough. I like how we differentiate the aspects of how there's cyberbullying and then there's that leads to physical violence. Yeah. So there's an argument I'd like to chime in on. There are some accounts that are more, I would like to say, they call them red pill accounts sometimes, where you see people who are influencing young boys and men. And they use some kind of rhetoric or words to talk about women and girls. And when other women or feminists say these words are leading to actual violence, they say, no, it's just words. I'm just talking. So I can't be responsible. So I would like to know, do you think that's an aspect here where people's online rhetoric and influencing of young boys who probably are seeing them as role models leads to actual violence in real life?
It does, it's possible. I'm see a case, for instance, I might move a bit from the case just mentioned to a case of a lady who just gave a review of a product, and then the whole thing happened. It's a simple action of giving a review online, and she used certain words. The issue was not the review she gave. The issue was she used certain words that triggered the company to file a lawsuit against her. So certain words can actually trigger actions. So if maybe she gave a review and it was simply a review to the company to say, oh, this product wasn't blah blah, just give a review. How you naturally give a review? Maybe she doesn't even know. That could be an education issue on the side. So it just means to say that our words should be carefully curated. You use certain words, like imagine going abroad using words like Negro. Already a black person is already offended, whether you like it or not, and so because of that, or you say, well, go back to your home country, stuff like that. And maybe you didn't mean it that way. Yeah. I will take it personal. Like, well, what are you saying I'm a nuisance in this country? So no matter how it is, our words we don't have control over how our words are perceived.
Indeed.
We don't have this control over how we say it.
Yes. So, sorry to cut you. Just when you said go back home, someone else could interpret that to mean we have to chase them.
Yes.
And reduce the violence. So
yes.
Just to round off this segment, your thoughts on government policies and laws and how you think it can make all of this better, protect women from violence and girls also.
The thing is, I know I only mentioned about the biggest spenders and where the funding should come from, where should go to. I mentioned government. I'm a big fan of the government because the government brings law and order in any jurisdiction. So should we look at our system, our laws? Yes, we should. And for instance, I like to say that if people say, so I work with children a lot, and when I talk to parents or talk to schools or talk to people, I always say we have the Child Rights Act in Nigeria. And only 34 states have adopted that Child Rights Act. So it means that if your child is in any of the states that has not adopted the act, it means that your child is not safe. And we have the domestic violence law that is only adopted by Lagos State, Ekiti State, and even one other state. So it means that if you have a domestic violence case, the way they handle it in Lagos State, you could see in other states, it's different from the way they handle it with other states. Why are other states not adopting these laws? So yes, we should look at these things, even the back acts that everyone is gushing about. People have looked at it critically in the humanitarian sector and realized that, see, there's a loophole. People with disability are not clearly spelled out here. So it means that if someone has a disability and the person has some sort of violence issue, the perpetrator can go scot-free, saying, oh, I didn't know the person is blind, or I didn't know she was XYZ, or she didn't say no because maybe she was mute and you didn't know. So people look at it critically. So with all these laws, we should look at it holistically to cover everybody. Because we have different people as we have people who have a disability, even mental disability. We have people, I know the girl who says that she was raped, but she was in shock, she couldn't say no or say no, so she was just lying there. And the guy went scot-free because the guy said she didn't do anything and I just thought it was okay. And he went scot-free. And she was traumatized. And it was because she was in shock she didn't do anything. But they took it to court and he won because it was deemed as consensual. So could that be something that put that, say, we take her and check her mental state? Is she okay? Does she get easily triggered? Can she get into shock? Has this happened before? If it brings into her medical history and realize that this person, in a place where the person is traumatized, they can go into shock. That might be what happened to her. Maybe that guy would have gotten away with it. So I'm saying that our laws also should be encompassing. It should be wholesome. For the most part of it, it is not. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that most non-profits are talking about it and people like you are also bringing this on air.
Thank you so much, Raquel. Thank you for your thoughts and your contributions so far. But we'll still have to give you just a little bit for our next segment. So we'll get your thoughts on our verified voices. So thanks so much for this segment. I'll come back to you. That's how we end this segment. For now, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll take a look at what some key stakeholders are saying across the world on this issue. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Every day, amazing stories of hope and tenacity unfold across the globe. On Hude Hour, we dive into these inspiring tales and discuss the vital work being done in the humanitarian and development space. Humanity has never faced a shortage of challenges, yet we rise stronger through teamwork and determination. Though these remedies are often underreported, on Hude Hour, we advocate sustainable solutions. We bring you the latest and most impactful news on how lives are being changed. We engage with young change makers and experts who provide valuable insights into relief efforts and the challenges faced by local communities through a global perspective. Join us every Wednesday by 8 a.m. on Hude Network's YouTube channel as we embark on this journey of positive change.
Hey everyone, let's face it, our world today experiences numerous challenges. And guess what? Our community isn't off the hook either. Most of the world issues are either not talked about enough or never talked about at all. But here on Timeline, we've got you covered. We dive deep into issues that affect us every day, leaving behind footprints of wisdom, knowledge, and solutions. Think of it like a roadmap that keeps you on the track for success. So buckle up, because in this new season of Timeline, we're taking another trip through the past, the present, and navigate into a more promising future. Again, we're talking solutions, people, and let's make one thing clear. This is not your average blah, blah, blah combo. This is real talk with a side of inspiration and a sprinkle of wow. I never thought about it like that. I'm your host on this impactful ride. Together, we'll tackle the top stuff, laugh a little, and find ourselves on the path to positive change. So what are you waiting for? Season 2 of Timeline, Reloaded. Let's get started. Hop in, and let's drive straight into the heart of issues shaping our world. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Hit that subscribe button and let's take this ride together.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still a Hude Hour special on the 16 days activism against gender-based violence and abuse. Right now, taking a look at our Verified Voice segment, we'll take a look at what some of the key stakeholders in the sector are saying on the issue. We're still here in the studio with Raquel Kasham Daniel. She's the founder of Beyond the Schools Foundation. All right, let's take a look at our first verified voice of today. All right, we have there from EU partnership, international partnership, says a key to eliminating gender-based violence, changing the mindsets, norms, and language that normalize and feed violence and harmful practices. Your voice counts, raise it. Says hashtag support the violence, hashtag 16 days, hashtag NGBV, hashtag no excuse. So let's take a look at the examples there. We have the first one that says boys will be boys, cancelled. So let's not say that. We should say boys will be held accountable. We have it's a rite of passage, also cancelled. It's violence. We have there at the bottom left, it's a private matter. No, it's a human rights violation. And at the final one there we have, it's just the way things are. And perhaps the way we should look at it is let's change things. And let's get to those there, Raquel, and then Jordan can also chime in.
I love the fact that you were just nodding your head. No way to talk.
Really, because I've seen a lot of these, and these are some things that we try to address, and especially the part where it says that it's a private matter. We hear a lot of a family affair, where someone gets abused, and then you say, oh, please, let's keep this in the family. I mentioned it earlier when I talked about the girl who was abused, and her mother said, please, it's a family matter. Let's not take it outside, and people will shame us. People should not hear that your father did this, and all that. Or a boy abuses his sister, and they'll say, oh, boys will just be boys on the matter. No, they boys should not be boys. Then we should also girls should be girls to when women things. So yes, I agree with all these to say that we need to change the language, and it starts with education.
Indeed. For me, it's the one about it's the way things are. Tradition is made for man and not tradition is made for humans,
Yes,
not for traditions. I think that's the point there.
Well, the part that got me is that your voice counts. See, it's very important for people to speak out, speak up. Don't die in silence, because we have people like Raquel making the move, and also we're making sure that your voice is being gotten and you get justice. All right, let's move straight up to the next verified voice we have. Okay, this is coming from United Nations Women. Women with disabilities face higher rates of intimate partner violence than those without. We must unite to build a world free from violence for all. Safety isn't a privilege, it's a fundamental right. And we see hashtag no excuse, hashtag 16 days. And we see a very beautiful picture with a woman, and boldly written, disability is hashtag no excuse for violence. Raquel, what can you say about that?
Everything we talked about is just coming back here. So a lot of times, girls, we do a lot of advocacy around menstrual health and hygiene for girls, and we go to schools for maybe those with disability, or people called the disabled, and we try to, correct that. And we see that we're talking about menstruation and menstrual health there, and menstrual hygiene, and then we start to hear cases of girls being raped because they can't talk, maybe they're blind, by men, and they can't tell you who raped them. Or so we see cases where they start to bring the shirts of all the men in the building and say, can you smell it? Can you remember who did it? So it's for the men, if you get these people to the table, they could tell you that, because she's blind, or maybe that's why she did not see that I was making passes at her or something. So someone that has disability, we say it's no excuse for you to rape someone that has disability, or can't see, or can't hear, or can't speak, or can't even move, and all that. Even women with albinism, there's a recent one that we've heard that it's just outrageous, that if you rape a woman with disability, with there's an albinism, that you would have multiple children if you're looking for twins. I'm like, where did this come from? And so that puts a woman that has albinism at risk already. And people with albinism are considered with disability, because that's how people treat them. So they are classified under those disability. So it's no excuse, because the person has a disability doesn't mean that the person should be treated the way and their right to be violated.
Indeed.
Well said.
Indeed. What just always shocks me is that even when we have inequality, within that inequality, there's still more. We have women already suffering. Now women with disabilities face even more. So there's no excuse. That's the way for us. So let's go to the final verified voice of the day. This is from the World Health Organization, Western Pacific. Violence against women takes multiple forms, including intimate partner violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, female genital mutilation, forced and early marriage, femicide, trafficking, um, end violence against women and girls, hashtag 16 days of activism. Well, this is just presenting all the ways things can happen, particularly the issue of intimate partner violence. One of the issues is saying that every 10 minutes, a woman is killed, according to what the UN Women is saying. And usually by someone she knows, which presents a whole new level of danger.
Yeah, but the thing, the saddest part of this, the intimate partner issue, is the fact that because I'm intimate with you, doesn't give you the right to force it on me next time you see me. So a woman can give consent now. I can withdraw my consent anytime. But then what we see is a woman withdraws her consent. It's like, but we are lovers. And then he will force that on her. And then when they go to court, oh, we've been dating, and he has evidence that they were in a relationship, they're intimate. But then at the time this happened, I didn't give my consent. So it meant that at every time, I have to give my consent, no matter how intimate we are, withdrawn at any time. And when I said no, even if you are gone halfway, you can, always stop. And so men should be educated to also know that. And I spoke to a man who said to me, he didn't know that, he just assumed that from a relationship, then it's my response. You have to always have sex with me. And I'm like, oh, really? He was clueless. So it meant that we need to do more education. So men understand that this issue of consent, can be withdrawn at any time and when it should be honored.
The aspect of law, I think even this consent for intimate partners, I think we need to spell it out to make sure that there is a law covering it. I don't think there is a law.
So the reason why that's a dicey situation is that because of culture, a lot, and when we're very cultural society where when you marry a woman, they say that it's already your property. And so we have to deal with thin line between intimate partner, is it dating, or intimate partner in marriage? Because most people when they are even raped are in marriage. And so because of that, your person is your husband, you are not supposed to be rape and all that. So that's actually where the issue has been for a while now. I've been in meetings where people are like, we can't, this one is dicey, please just leave it there, And like you said, it has to change when you read it. Let's change it. So that's how it has always been. Let's leave it like that. So that's the issue we're having. Should he remain like that? No. I think we should look at it more. I think with more conversations and more action, we'll do better.
Indeed. You can always adopt best global practices because others have done it and it's not an issue. Thank you so much for coming, Raquel. It's been a pleasure having you and having your voice added to our 16 Days Activism on the channel here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's how we end the program today. I hope you have key takeaways on the issues of solutions. As the hashtag says, there is no excuse for violence against women and children, and we can begin to change traditions that foster or help this continue. Let's do our best. Let's unite and let's invest to protect women from gender-based violence. This has been a Hude Hour special on the 16 Days of Activism. It is the 10th day of December, so happy International Human Rights Day, and I hope the activism continues even beyond, and women and girls are protected. I am Amadou Nobere. Bye for now.
And remember, safety isn't a privilege, it is your right. I'm Joan Eze. Thank you so much for joining us.